sewing a lot of rectangles and squares. Don't get nervous about the bag. Don't get scared. It's really simple. The only curve we're going to be sewing is part of the flap, which was originally a square, and all I did was fold it and trim the edges around to create a circle. That's all. Everything else are rectangles and squares. Okay, you can do this. I know this video is going to be a little different than what you're used to, but let's see how we like it. Let's get started. All right, get that pocket piece. Put the right sides together. We're going to be sewing around the three sides, the three openings, not the folded portion. Sew all the way around and leave a portion so that you can turn this right side out. You just need about like 3 finger spaces wide. Sewing at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now that we're done, we want to clip the corners off the edge of the pieces in order to reduce bulk in the pocket. Go ahead and turn the pocket right side out. If you need to, grab a chopstick so that you are able to get those corners to be a little bit pointier. Fold under those raw edges. If you need to, go ahead and iron. It helps flatten the pocket, so when you adhere it onto the fabric itself, it doesn't bulk up on you. We want to prepare the pocket now to sew a top stitch right across. I'm sewing at 1/8 of an inch. This will be the top of the pocket. Go ahead and grab the inner panel. You have the back side, 2 inner backside panels. Go ahead and grab that back side. We want to take one so that we can adhere the pocket. So we want the right side of the fabric, and we're going to find the middle of the bag or the middle of the lining to attach the pocket. Pinning, and then I'll be sewing around the edges all around the pocket to attach it onto the lining. Do not sew the top part of the pocket. You have already put a top stitch there. At this point, I've removed the pins, and what we want to do is find the middle of the bag so we can make a partition for this pocket. Fold the fabric in half so you can find the middle, and we want to go ahead and sew down that fold. Be sure to back stitch at the top. All it's going to do is create separation. As you can see, you now have 2 separated portions to the pocket, which will be the back portion of the bag. Go ahead and grab those side panels for the bag. You see I would have labeled them. Find your pretty side of the lining, and you're going to attach the pretty side to pretty side and sewing from the top to the bottom all the way down. You're going to do the same thing for both of the side panels, attaching them to the back lining piece that has that pocket. You want to be sure when you do this other panel that you attach it onto the opposite side of the bag. Pretty side to pretty side. Go ahead and open that up. You can see that you now have side panels. You can see now that we need to attach the back part of the lining. So go ahead, pretty side to pretty side, and attach it to one of the side panels. Raw edge to raw edge, pretty sides facing. You're going to be sewing down all the way to the bottom, 1/4 inch seam allowance. I opened up the bag and realized I wanted to use some scraps that I had to create a tab keychain holder inside. So I just grabbed random scraps that was left over from the outside fabric. The tab so that those raw edges meet each other, then open it and fold it right into the middle of the fabric so that it creates that crease. Iron it, and then we're going to sew down the left and right sides of the tab to create a finished look, a finished line of stitching for the keychain. Here I just took a clasp, added it on right to the tab, folded the tab so that the raw edges meet each other. I prepared to place it in the portion of the pockets. I wanted it to go between the side panels at the top of the bag. You'll know the top of your bag because you've already sewn the pocket. So I'm placing the keychain in between the side panels, almost to line up with the pocket there, which is about 4 inches down. Stitch it. We now have an almost completed inner lining for the bag. We're going to go to the next step where we are attaching the bottom portion of the bag to attach to this lining. Now we want to make sure that the bag is strong, so we are going to use Decoville and attach Decoville to the wrong side of the fabric here. For the Decoville, we're using the glue side and we're just attaching it to the wrong side of the lining fabric. Iron that on, and then we prepare for attaching to the bottom of the bag. When you are attaching the bag, the bottom of the bag, you can leave a space at the bottom, about maybe 4 inches, to flip it right side out, or you can choose to leave that opening on the side of the bag. But pin all the way around the bottom of the bag to secure the bottom, and then you want to sew all the way around. You definitely want to make sure that you use a strong stitch because a lot of stuff will be going in the bottom of your bag. The Decoville is going to help keep the bottom of the bag strong, but stitching is really important. So make sure you back stitch. You can see here we have the keychain inside, and whether or not you chose to leave your opening on the side was up to you, but we have the pockets here, two of the partition spaces, and that flat bottom to be strong enough to hold things in on the bottom. So go ahead and put that to the side, and now we are going to work on the flap part. This is the portion that I said was a square at one point, and I just curved the ends. Adhere some interface. This is fusible fleece. Folding the flap in half just to be able to find the middle of the bag because we want to prepare to put the magnetic clasp on. I'm measuring from the bottom of the bag at 3 inches. I'm going to put a dot. This is going to remind me where the middle is. So when I put this backing down, I'm going to put the plate over the dot and mark the 2 straight lines to help me know where I'm putting this prong. The seam ripper is going to help me rip the hole so that I can get that prong through the hole from the other side of the fabric. And again, I'm just, focusing on my middle portion. Here you can see I put the magnetic clasp through the hole and I am attaching the plate. I'm going to fold the prongs down so that they face towards the outside so it does not create bulk inside of the flap. That's it. Later on, we'll put the other side of the flap on. Now, I put my interface on the side with the lining because I wanted to have a strong backing for the magnetic clasp. But you can put yours on the outer fabric, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and put that pretty side facing the pretty side down because we want to sew all around the perimeter of this fabric to close up the flap. I'm clipping the outside areas of this curve because it's going to reduce some bulk once it's flipped, and it's going to give me a nice clean curve on the other side. Just be careful you don't cut into the stitch line or you have a hole. Turn it right side out. You may want to use the chopstick at some point once you do flip it right side out, just to help you get the seams to lay flat. This is going to take a little work. Poke your corners out. And now we are going to get the iron and put the iron over this to flatten it out. I can't stress to you guys how important the iron is. Fold those raw edges in, and if you use the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, they should fold in real easy with no problem. The iron is going to help hold the seam in place until we sew it. We're going to put a stitching right around the outside using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. You are obviously going to see this top stitch, so you want to make sure that you use a coordinating thread. Okay, and at this point you can put that flap to the side. We're going to work on the main panel, the outer fabric, and if you don't have your interface attached adhered to the fabric, go ahead and put that interface on. You want to make sure that you have that scratchy side with the glue facing up. Iron it down onto the wrong side of your fabric. Go ahead and do it for the other panel as well. Okay, once you're done, we're going to start prepping for the pocket that's right along the back. The good thing about this pocket is that you don't have to take off the bag in order to reach the pocket. It's pretty cool. Okay, so here it is where we are prepping. I'm just checking out the zipper location and getting a solid color lining for the back panel. This first panel that we're going to be attaching, it's going to be the panel that is the back side of the pocket. You will not see this panel piece. Place the panel piece down. Draw a line that is about 1.5 inches from the edge of the fabric. You can make it as long as your zipper length. Then I created another line 1/2 inch away from that first line that I drew. I'm just connecting the small lines there. Drawing a line at this point down in the middle of those two rectangles so I can find out where the middle of the rectangle is. That's going to be the portion where the zipper rests. The triangles are going to be what helps me when I cut it out to know where to place the zipper. Pin that fabric. We're going to be sewing on top of the rectangle, the white outer portion of the rectangle, all the way around the rectangle. I'm using for this particular piece 3.0. Take your time when you get down to the end. You don't want to go past that small little line that we drew, which is the shorter side of the rectangle. Be sure to backstitch when you get to the back to the beginning portion of the rectangle. Your zipper is going to rest inside of here, so you want to make sure that this fabric adheres to it really well. Get your seam ripper. Make a hole right along that long white line. You can use your scissors if you need to in order to cut down. Clip the triangles. Do not cut the triangles, but cut on the lines, both ends of the rectangle. You can remove your pins because the fabric, the pocket fabric, is already adhered to the outer portion of the bag anyway. Stick that lining right behind this rectangle, as you see me doing. We want to be able to push down and just give it a finger press on top. We don't want to see any of that lining fabric. It's going to serve as one side of the pocket, but we need to make this look good so when we put the zipper, we don't see any of the lining. I'm using the iron here to help me press this fabric down so it's not bulky on the other side. You might have to tug a little bit, iron a little bit, tug a little bit, but the idea is when you look at the top part of this panel, all you want to see is the rectangle. You don't want to see any underlying fabric. Go ahead and grab your zipper. We're going to be placing the zipper. You want to make sure that the zipper is longer than the rectangle that you created. And obviously, you're going to create the rectangle long enough for the zipper. But add some double-sided tape if you have some. If not, use a glue stick. Trust me, it will help you. It's your friend. It will keep the zipper from shifting. Peel off both pieces of the double-sided tape. And the idea is when you stick the zipper underneath, you want the fabric to the black fabric on the other side. You want that to attach to the zipper, basically holding this zipper in place. You might have to shift it around a little bit, but the only thing you really need to be concerned about at this point is making sure that that zipper pull is inside of the rectangle area. If you don't see your zipper pull inside of that rectangle, it means you're not going to have a zipper that works. Pull off both sides if you haven't, the opposite side of the double-sided tape. Now, you do have a choice. You could go ahead and stitch the zipper close, but I don't do it. You can do it if you'd like to, the zipper teeth, or you can tape it shut to help you. It takes a little bit of positioning and repositioning and positioning and repositioning, but eventually the zipper will sit in there nice and flush. And at this point, you want to make sure that the seams are down, the opposite side of the fabric is down. We're going to be stitching around this zipper area, all around the rectangle close to the zipper, because the idea is you want to catch the fabric on the zipper. So sew all the way around the rectangle, and if you can, use a 2.5. It's going to make sure that that zipper stays stuck because the stitches are closer together. At this point, I'm clipping off the ends of the zipper because we don't need them. They'll get in our way from sewing the pocket. Put the pretty side of your pocket piece down. We want to attach it to the opposite side of the pocket. This is also a time that you want to just take a look and see that your pattern is facing the correct way when you are looking at the outside of the bag. If it's important to you looking at the inside of the pocket, but you will see this piece of fabric that is being put on the back side. So you see, look, just make sure that it's facing the right way. The direction of the fabric is going the right way. Pin it up all around the pocket. And then you're going to sew around all four sides of this fabric, of this square. Do not leave any openings for this pocket. Just going to sew all around. Okay, we have some good stuff here. You have a completed pocket. Go ahead and cut stragglies because if you are using a light color lining, you will see it. This is what we have so far. You have a functional zipper and you have a pocket in there. A nice size that while the bag is on your back, you can slide things in the back pocket without having to take the bag off. That's my idea of convenience. Okay. All right, we are going to move on to the next step. Let's prepare a tab for the top of the bag. You know, this is the pull that you would use in order to hold the bag. Yeah, if you don't want to put it on your back. I don't know, hook, tab, but I'm ironing it and the tab is made the same way that I made the zipper, keychain, and, you know, several other tabs. Sew down both sides, left and right, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to put it onto the bag, onto the top part of the bag. Fold that fabric over so you can find the middle of your bag. I've just flipped it so that you can see from a different view. I'm going to put this so that it's at the top. You want that tab to be so that the seams, the raw edges, are facing at the top of the bag. The good part of the handle that you hold is supposed to be touching the good side of the fabric. Remember, all raw edges should be facing the same way when you're sewing. Pin it and we're going to base stitch. We want to hold it in place. Give it some extra love there too, because if you carry something heavy in there, you want to make sure that this strap doesn't come off. I give extra love on straps or handles. Sometimes I zigzag. Look, see, you want it strong. All right, now I'm going to start working on the straps here. What you see me do for one, I'm going to do for all four straps. I'm simply going to attach the interface, adhere the interface to the wrong side of the fabric. And once I've done that on all four, I'm folding this in half. When I fold it in half, I'm going to be sewing down a straight line to close up the strap. You can go ahead and do that for all 4 straps. I'm sewing using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, finally we have all 4 straps done, and at this time you want to go ahead and grab a loop turner if you have a loop turner. If not, you can use a safety pin. That's fine. Get a large one though. Look at the loop turner. I'm going to put this in here and hook it onto the fabric, pull the fabric through the tube, inching the fabric as I go. This is going to turn the strap right side out. I'm going to do it for all 4 straps. Once I've done it for all 4 straps, you can see right here, it seems like it's a little twisted, but it's not. It may take a little bit of twisting and fighting and pulling, but you'll get the hang of it. All right, all 4 sides, all 4 straps are done. We want to roll these seams so we get that seam into the edge, iron it, flatten it down. I like the seam on one side. I don't like the seam in the middle of the bag. This is also a good thing to keep in mind so that when you're starting to look at the pattern placement, you get a good sense of what patterns or what pictures you're going to see on the strap. And I don't like seeing seams. Iron these all flat. Ironing them flat will make them go through your machine a whole lot easier when we sew down the left and the right sides of all 4 of these. It's going to put a top stitch on the strap. You want to do it for all 4, so using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Don't worry about these D-rings here. I was just checking to check the size that I had. So we want to turn a little bit of the strap under and then turn another small portion under just to get rid of the raw edges. And you want to do that for all 4 straps. This way you have a clean finished edge to the straps on one end. Of course, I'm snipping off all of those loose threads. I'm happy with this. They're strong. They look good. See, this is where we place the straps on the bag. So you just want to pay attention to the direction that you're rolling up the end. So let's place these straps on the bag now. Get the back panel, the one with the pocket. Let's place the straps about 1.5 inches in. You can decide where you want to place it, but I put them at 1.5 inches in. Pinning both sides. To hold it down, we are going to base stitch these straps so that they can be held in place. I like to fold up the strap so that it doesn't get in my way when I'm sewing the bottom, but also because I don't want to forget and sew through them. I've done that before. You'll notice I just flipped this strap over. I flipped it over because I wanted the seams of the straps to basically face each other. Just pinning it up to keep it out of the way. At this point, we're ready to sew. Stitching, base stitching right across. I'm going to use 3.0. If your machine struggles a little bit, go ahead and bump it up to 3.5. But 3.0 is a good distance. You could also push that black button on your presser foot, which will help you go over layers. Because right now you're sewing through the interface, the lining, the pretty side of the fabric on the back, and then you're sewing through the folded strap. Just depends on the strength of your machine. But if you increase your stitch length, it's easier to sew through. Look at here. I put some zigzag stitches on the strap because, like I said, I like to give a little bit extra attention to the straps, better quality. This way, when something heavy is going in that backpack, I know it's not going to pop. So I did a straight stitch and then I did zigzag. That zigzag stitch is actually also done inside of the seam allowance, so closer to the raw edge. I'm happy with the way this looks right now. Now we want to attach those bottom straps. Now, some people like them at the bottom of the book bag. However, I'm going to turn this and place this coming out of the side panels of the bag. And about 1 inch up from the bottom will be good because I want the strap to rest comfortably with arm reach. I don't want it to be directly at the bottom of the bag. You choose how you want to put it. This is going 1 inch from the bottom here. Of course, I'm going to pin, and then I'm going to do, I'm going to stick these straps inside of the other strap that's already hanging, just because it keeps it out of the way. We want to prepare the side panels for the bag now. So we're going to fold over, this is canvas for this pocket, but whatever you're using for your pocket, just find a pretty side, fold it wrong side to wrong side for both pieces. Iron them flat. We want to prepare them so that this is the pretty side facing out, and the top portion can be top stitched 1/8 of an inch. Pin those pockets together. We're going to use this side panel for the next step. Grab the main bag panel, and you want those side panels that you just completed. I had already attached my back panel and side panels when I realized I needed to show you how to put the snaps on. Fold your side panel in half so that your raw edges touch your raw edge. I just lined up my seams here because I've done this several times, so I know how to put the snaps on no matter what stage I'm in. But measure down 1.5 inches and go ahead and mark 1.5 inches in the middle of that panel because this is where you're going to add the snaps. You need to put both sides of the snap on, the socket part and the post and cap part. The seam ripper I'm using makes a better hole for me than using the tool that it came with. So you can just watch how I do it here, and then you will be applying the same method to the other side of the panel, the second panel piece. And then I will walk you through on how to attach the side panels to the bags. Normally, when you are applying a magnetic clasp, you want to put some extra interface, but this fusible fleece is strong, so I didn't see that I needed to add another layer of interface with this bag. It is enough support because that fusible fleece is strong that it would not be pulling on the cotton material itself. Okay, here we go. We are putting the side panels onto the pretty side of the bag. Make sure when you line them up that your pocket is facing the right way. You want your pocket on the bottom. Okay. You don't want to sew it upside down, so make sure those patterns are going the right way. Apply both of the panels pretty side to pretty side at this time. You should see some of that strap raw edge hanging out. That's what you want, because when you actually sew down both sides of the bag, you want to be able to know where the strap is at and go over it a few times to give it some extra support. Pin those side panels on. And sew down both sides. Use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Remember, you're sewing through some extra layers right now, so If you're having a hard time, switch to a walking foot, or you can push in that black button on the presser foot and the spring will go down. It will help you get over some thicker layers. Now that both sides have been sewn, you can see that we have the side and back panels completed for our bag. We're all ready now to work on this front panel piece. We need to prepare the front that's going to attach to these side panels like this. It's going to close up, but this flap is needed to open and close, obviously, right? We worked on a magnetic clasp earlier, but now we got to put that other part on the front panel. Hopefully you can see how the bag is starting to come together at this point. So let's get that flap ready. Okay, and we're gonna attach that flap, the straight edge, to the back side of the bag. Now, here is the thing. When we're attaching it, we're still making pretend that's a raw edge. We're lining it up, raw edge to raw edge, and seam to seam. We're gonna sew right across the top. However, you wanna make sure that you do use 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, because you need to be able to cover the stitches that you baste stitched onto the straps already and that tab hook. Okay, what I like to do is just line up the edge of the fabric with foot and go right across the whole way. So that will let me know that I'm going to get all of that baste stitching inside of the final seam, because we don't want people to see that we baste the straps on and we baste the hook on, that hook tab. So I'm just lining up the right side of my foot with the raw edges of the fabric. Now keep in mind, you're sewing through multiple layers here. So again, if you need to switch to your walking foot, do it. I'm not going to do it in the video because I know my machine can handle these layers. All right, so I'm now going to prepare to, put that front flap on. We can see that the seam is nicely encased. I don't see that stitching underneath, that zigzag and basting stitch, which is why, again, you want to line up those raw edges with the walking foot. So preparing that front flap, that front panel, and this is how it's going to lay about the pattern on your bag. See, when you close this, look at this bag here to the right. Now, matching up the designs, if this is important to you, pay attention here. If not, then you can bypass it. But one of the important things when you are creating a bag is pattern placement. So you just want to make sure that if you want to line up the designs, that you do it now. We want to prepare the front panel piece. So at around 4 inches down, on the front of the bag in the middle. I'm going to fold this over so that I can definitely know where the middle of the bag is, to know where I need to place that magnetic snap to match up with the flat part that we've already done. So 4 inches down in the middle, I'm going to make a mark here so that I'm sure that the middle portions of those snaps will meet up with each other. And the portion of the snap here gets applied the same way that we attached the other part of the closure to. Making that dot, I'm going to mark the lines and then use that seam ripper to cut the holes. You always want to put the thickest part of the magnetic clasp on the portion of the product that will be pulled away from. I know it sounds tricky, but you want to leave that heavy, sturdier portion of the clasp as a support. Okay, we don't want that bulk. That's why the bag, the side clasp are going to the side. We're now ready to attach the front portion of the bag onto the remainder of the bag itself. Watch your pattern placement, make sure everything is facing the right way. Line up the side panel, the edge of the side panel with the edge of the bag. Pin them. You're going to do the same thing for the other side as well, lining up raw edges. Just making sure everything lined up at the bottom before I pin, because obviously some things tend to shift. We now want to sew down the sides of both of these side panels. Once again, I'm using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. We're ready now to take a look at the inside, just so that you can get an idea of what you're dealing with here. Removing those pins, because once we attach the bottom and turn this thing right side out, you don't want to forget those pins. There we have it. We have the flap. It meets up nicely. And now it's time to attach the bottom onto the bottom of this bag. You might want to use a sturdy fabric on the bottom because, your bag may be going on the floor. But besides that, you want it to be durable and strong, like the pockets here and the whole rest of the bag. So go ahead, flip that bag back. And now we're going to grab the bottom, piece, whatever you decide to use. And you could choose to put Decoville on the bottom, or you can put fusible fleece, doesn't matter. I'm just trimming away the extra portion of the interface here because I like to line up my raw edges together. Placing the bottom of the bag, I started lining it up in the seams first, seam to seam, and then start pinning around. Once you're done pinning, go ahead and sew all the way around the bottom of the bag. I decided to change my stitching here just to give it a little extra support. Once you've sewn all around, go ahead and turn that bag right side out. So I'm sticking the right side of the bag in with the right side of the lining, so that my pretty sides are facing each other. Stuff it in there, make sure your straps, the flap, everything goes inside of the bag. Nothing should be on the outside of the lining. Lining up my seams. Make sure that the seams touch each other. Going to pin all around the bag. You're now ready to sew all around the bag using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. Don't leave any openings. We have an opening on the side of the bag that we're going to use to turn the bag right side out. So start in the seams and sew all the way around. I'm going to line up the fabric from the top of the bag with the edge of the foot here. I wouldn't attempt to sew this on 2.5. I would definitely go for 3.0, again, because you're sewing through multiple layers. As you're sewing around, give those straps, again, some extra attention, and then continue on around the bag. if you want to cut some of the little portions of the tabs that are sticking out, you can. You don't have to. Find that hole and turn your bag right side out. This is one reason that I like to put the Decoville on the lining, because it isn't too thick in order for me to turn right side out. I put fusible fleece on the outside fabric, but on the inner lining I like to put the Decoville because it's just one layer that I have to worry about turning. A little tough, but now stuff that lining inside of the bag. Everything, make sure everything looks good. Just make sure you don't have any holes anywhere before you close up that hole. This is the time to check out the bag, all the seams, just in case you need to flip it back and do some alterations. Close up that side of the bag with some coordinating thread. Straighten it out, and you might want to just put an iron over it because the lining would definitely be wrinkled. After you've put the iron over it, then you can actually just tuck it, the whole lining, back inside of the bag. We want to actually put a top stitch all around the top of the bag. This is the time that you just want to make sure the lining is sitting straight, so that when you do the top stitch, you know that the lining is not bunched up anywhere. Ironing your fabric here will actually help out. It will make the bag look creased, but also again help you out when you're going around underneath the foot, because you won't have a lot of bulk. I like to ensure that the lining lays flat, which is another reason why I prefer to iron before I top stitch. Pull those straps down towards the front of the bag over the front flap just to get them out of your way. You want the seam to lie underneath the straps, not on top. Then you can go ahead and start top stitching all around the bag. Now what you want to do is go around your bag, look for any loose threads that might have been left from when you started sewing, or that may have come from inside of the bag. Clip them off. We don't want them. You can see that the side panels are complete with the snaps. Everything closes well. And it's at this point now that we just want to complete the straps by putting on the D-rings. This is pretty simple to do. Go ahead and grab 2 of those D-rings, put it onto the top strap, fold under a small portion of the bottom of the strap, the completed portion. Put it under, and what you want to do is sew right across to attach it. And you're going to do the same thing for both of the top straps. You need 2 D-rings on each strap. Be sure to clip off any loose threads that you have from both of the straps. It's bound to happen. It's normal. Just clip them off. You don't want that on your finished product. The zipper open closes. You can always add a zipper pull if you want to. You have your straps. It's nice and big. You can put a laptop in there. You can put some books. That's it. I know this video was a little different than what you're used to. I figured I would save you all the small talk that I do sometimes because this was a big project. So this is quality. When you saw me go over the straps several times, well, I did it because it's quality, okay? And then the extra padding. All right. So take the extra detail. No. Take the extra time to do the extra details, and then you'll have a really good quality product. Let me know if you guys like the voiceover, okay? As opposed to, me actually talking you through the actual video. Go into my community tab, take a poll, do the poll that's there. I'm curious to know if you like it or not, okay? I'll see you back here for another video. Okay, thanks for watching.